Rocksteady's game that has received another delay. Apparently the word on the street is that the delay is now somewhere in 2024. Our Gaming Leaks, the subreddit for gaming leaks and rumors, pretty much has a lot of people talking about it. There are posts by, other folk around. There was actually a video clip where Jeff Grubb said this. And I think it's worth looking at gamer reactions, talking a little bit about some of these things, because it's very important that, we're able to kind of delve into what it is that we probably would expect when this game eventually drops. Some people are saying this game needs to be canceled. You're high. Who's going to make a video game almost to release and then go cancel the whole project? I don't think Warner Brothers is in the position to do that. If anything, there are probably going to be some modifications that need to be made. When this news first came out, I made a hypothesis and I stand by it. The delay is mainly to add content. Live service games can feel empty if they don't have a lot to do, and that will be the worst thing possible because the game would die out immediately. But if they're able to bring content as the game is launching, the game has hope. Because here's what's going to happen. Within the first 30, 40, 50 hours of this game's release, the real hardcore hungry gamers that have been waiting for a superhero game will plow through this game and they will start being loud. Where's the rest of the content? And usually games like these, DLC is mostly far away, 6, 7, 8 months away before they launch. Now, yes, they plan the release of the DLC, but they have to kind of finish up the game and then eventually continue to maybe work on the DLC or maybe commence development of the DLC. So this is what I think, and I still stand by it, the developers are probably trying to do, making sure that their battle pass and everything is all intact so that they're not coming around 7 months later telling us with some trailer, yay, we just added content. I think that would be the worst possible step ever, especially now that you have a lot of the backlash. But whomever thinks that's going to basically go back and change some of the core mechanics, I find that hard to believe. Not saying it's impossible, but let's look at some of the comments here on Reddit because I think it kind of wraps into context the sentiment of some gamers out here. So the post goes up, Jeff Grubb, Suicide Squad could potentially be delayed into 2024 from earlier posts, blah, blah, blah. And there are about 400 comments here. And somebody said, honest question, what could they possibly do within a year to fix what the backlash was about? If the game is designed around being a live service, does anyone with game development background have any insight? This is a very important question. I'm not a developer, but I have hours that I've logged into game development just because I wanted to, kind of learn this stuff. And I've listened to devs all over the place, listened to, all kinds of developer presentations and kind of scrutinized words that they've actually put out. And I can tell you that what they want to accomplish is they want to add more content to the game. Now, its first initial DLC and stuff may have been ready, but I strongly believe that they want to be able to announce a date like the way they did with Gotham Knights. Some of you may or may not remember when Gotham Knights was in its reveal stage or reveal phase, the developers announced Heroic Assault, which was something that they actually had ready to go and a date to actually launch it. In fact, some people even thought, Heroic Assault was going to get delayed. And next thing you know, the day before Heroic Assault, they were like, oh yeah, it's coming out on Monday or something like that. And people were in shock. But that's because they had already lined up their ducks in a row. And I think this is what Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League wants to go ahead and do. Because if you look at even other games like The Division, I remember The Division 2 as well, it had its own challenges. YouTubers in the space at that time, which I actually am one of them, those of them that actually took, time off or whatever to play the game, they beat the game in literally the very first day it came out. I mean, some of you may not realize how big of a problem that is. When your live service game gets maxed out on day one and you don't have your content ready to go, you're in trouble. And so the developers, having made the game so difficult, these sweats grinded and beat everything. And by the time the game was ready, by the time the developers could go to bed after celebrating the launch, they had people saying, hey man, the last, boss or the last mission is bugged out. I'm bugged out. And they had a bug that they had to fix. So I think these developers are probably making that move to ensure that this is not a thing that happens. Now, granted, there might be some things that they want to tweak. Like this comment here says, the live service part isn't even the most arduous part of the game. They could absolutely fix that in half a year. Bruh, the world is full of war here on Reddit. Shout out to you, but From a development perspective, that's something that's going to require a lot of time, number one. Number two, that's going to require redeveloping major aspects of the game. Number three, if they do it to be a console or, machine-based game, like you can play the entirety of the game on your machine locally, then you're more than likely going to sacrifice performance. Hey, you guys remember there's this one game that kind of had that issue that the developers said that's why they had the issue, but nobody listened. And I was here telling y'all that, hey, if you're going to run a game at 60 FPS, there are things that you kind of have to do, especially on the console. I understand Microsoft and Sony told you that those consoles could do 4K 120 FPS, but that's if you're playing Tetris, a game that probably has very minimal graphics requirement or very minimal AI and code run requirement. When you kind of consider things, all of this works through, in my opinion, what I think a lot of gamers fail to realize, a lot of resource requirements. Because if you don't have the resources, which the consoles don't necessarily have, that game may not be able to target 60 FPS. So yes, you may say, well, other games are running at 60 FPS. I get it. You could do that with a lot of single player games, Shadow of War, Shadow of Mordor, the Arkham games, and so on and so forth. These games run at 60 FPS on, the machines, and I think they can run on consoles too. These new consoles, they're old, if they would unlock the frame caps. But you have to also understand that at the end of the day, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is hoping to achieve something that requires online connectivity. We're not there yet with the consoles where you can seamlessly do that. Another thing that has to be taken into consideration is the fact that if you think about the way this game is designed, it's very code heavy. So let me explain to you. So if you want to run AI costs something. It costs CPU processing. Something's got to be running the logic on your AI. And if you're going to do that, then you definitely have to have the machine power to do it. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is going to be running AI at every given possible front. It's going to be running AI for the horde enemies, and I think that's probably why you have the enemy types that you have here, where basically they're just a horde of, mindless enemies being controlled by Brainiac. You then also have to run friendly AI for your other three characters that are with you every given time in a gameplay encounter. By the way, there's no, I'm going to use Captain Boomerang to do this mission, or I'm going to use, King Shark to do this mission, or whatever. They're all running their code together, and they have to be interacting in real time with everything that's going on the enemy classes. That's a lot of CPU draw right there. I don't know many games that have been able to pull that off. And then you have the seamless, or what I think Rocksteady is going to make a seamless multiplayer in and out, swapping back and forth, if they're able to basically nail that system down. So all of this is going to be a lot of resources that's required that, to be honest, that live service side of things, sure, they could change the whole game, but what machine are you going to play it on? That's the question I'm wondering. The fact that every character is using generic guns like this is Fortnite collab event is mixed, is the issue mixed with the generic Destiny style progression. We have enough of these. The people following Rocksteady from Arkham games didn't want this. I think the reason they probably made this game a shooter was probably because of the constraints of the technology that they have today. Was it not a Rocksteady developer that came out and said something about the Series S, and they basically canceled the kid all the way off the internet? Like, oh, he didn't know what he was talking about. They were like, oh, well, he's even an artist. Guys, do you even know what they call an artist in a game development studio? An artist interacts with the engine. They basically design stuff. They put it in the engine, they work on it, they tweak it, and see how well it will actually interact. Then they send it to the gameplay programmers to actually implement it into the game. So he is a developer. The person who said that, they know what they're talking about. The Series S is a good console, but when we look at it from a mechanic perspective, like, okay, what is this machine capable of? It's not really that great to run a lot of these ambitious games that we're seeing. As much as many people might compare Suicide Squad to Fortnite and so on and so forth, even I myself would probably make those comparisons. From a mechanics and a game development perspective, it is a different game. It will run differently, and it will require much more resources. Fortnite, you just jump in there, just you, and you're doing all this other stuff. So I don't necessarily think that that's easily the case in this instance. So someone said this, they're probably maybe trying to, unify the currencies, rebalance the battle pass. 75% of it should be unlocked basically through playthrough of the campaign. Greed's not going to let them do that. Someone is saying that the game is still going to be crap and so and so and so. These are just sentiments, but somebody asked from a perspective of somebody who might look at the development side. And I strongly believe that, there are aspects that you can think of, but to expect an overhaul is a tall order. And like I said, unless they release a PC version of the game first, which they don't seem to like committed to PlayStation having used the state of play to market their game, to come out with the PC version first is going to be a very hard, a tall order. But I mean, think about studios that are doing it. They come out with the PC version, then they scale down for the other platforms, or they scale for the other platforms as they see fit. Or like, you got to see Hogwarts Legacy, the developers were able to nail it down on the consoles, basically the PlayStation and the series versions. Then PC was kind of on the back burner because we on the PC side, we realized that the game doesn't perform at, the best on PC based on, PC basically is back burner. And now they're working on the PlayStation 4 and the, Switch versions of the game. So this is how I see it from a development side. It's very interesting, that people are now willing to talk development. I'm so happy. I'm glad Rocksteady is actually releasing this game, because I get to actually sound like I'm not crazy, because these people on the internet, they'll make you think you've lost your mind when you say things like that. Some of them even still come out here saying you're defending Rocksteady. Who gives a hoot? Why would I sit here and, be bothered what somebody else, is doing or whatever when they're getting paid? They don't need to be defended. The devs are going to get paid. They're going to buy diapers. They're going to buy groceries, the things that normal human beings have to deal with because, they're going to work and doing the best that they possibly can. I'll continue this conversation separately, though, with the developer side in a different video. I want to take time to actually, go ahead and rock on when it comes to like the intricacies of this, and I really want to kind of dive into it. So I'll stop here. Thanks so much for watching the video. I appreciate you guys' time and audience. Let me hear your thoughts in the comment section, and hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.